Hello, I'm Katrina. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a tag. I want to do the Goodreads tag. The first question is, what was the last book you marked as read? And that would be The Body Keeper by Anne Fraser. That's one of the comfort books that I read, one of the comfort series I've read, I think I don't know how many is in the series, but I've read 3 so far in this series with this main character. And she's tortured, like she was literally kidnapped and tortured. You know, a lot of times in the police procedures, the police officer is lonely and gruff and he's an alcoholic. This is a female. She was held captive for 3 years and now has obvious issues, but she's back on the force and just can read people really well because she had to learn to read her captor to just stay alive. And so I kind of, when I don't want to think about things, or I'm in a mood and I can't really define what I want to read, I don't have a specific thing, I'll pick up something like that, and that was the last one I completed. So again, that's The Body Keeper by Anne Fraser. Question 2 is, what are you currently reading? I am currently reading 3 Times Charmed by Cindy Stark. I'm reading that physically, and I am listening to the audiobook of The Good House by Tananarive Due. I'm enjoying both, but I'm enjoying The Good House exponentially better. The next question was, what was the last book you marked as TBR? And that would be Leave the World Behind by Rahman Alam. I've seen this on multiple booktubers read or want to read book, and the synopsis is something definitely up my alley. It's kind of, I don't know if it tells you if it's a thriller or not, but it's kind of a weird thriller, and a couple goes off into a luxurious Airbnb, and then this other family shows up saying that it's an older black couple. They arrive in a panic. They say that they own the Airbnb, and there's something weird going out with all the electricity. They're cut off from the world, and it's a suspense. And it says that Rahman Alam's third novel is keenly attuned to the complexity of parenthood, race, and class. So that's definitely up my alley. So that's on my TBR. The next question is weird. It says, what book do you plan to read next? And I would assume that a TBR and the book that you plan to read next would be the same thing, but maybe this question is written for people like me. Just because I put it on my TBR doesn't mean it's the book I'm going to read next, because I'm such a moody reader. Read next. I don't plan to read anything next. I go through, I find, and I have this thing where I love a book. I read a book. It would be the most wonderful book in the world, and then I flounder about for weeks looking for the next book that's like that, instead of just reading a good enough book. Just read a cozy mystery. It's so simple to think about doing it now, but I flounder about looking for the next wonderful book that's going to grab me the way that book just did. So I have so many issues, so many reader issues. Number 5 is, do you have a star rating system? Yes, I do. 5 for favorite, will read again. I will buy multiple copies of the book, and I will recommend it to anybody. 4 is a good read, probably won't read it again, would recommend. I think sometimes maybe a nonfiction book would get a 4. Maybe it's maybe it's something that was difficult. I needed to learn from it, but I got it. I don't need to read it again, something like that. A 3 is okay, might recommend to a certain type of person who loves the sort of thing that shows up in this book. But it was good enough to finish, but I had serious issues with it. I liked some stuff, or maybe even loved some stuff, but I had serious issues with it. 2, okay enough to finish, but that's it. 1, bad, probably DNF'd. And I saw a thing one time about I think I saw it on Twitter, and it was like, what's the point of rating books you DNF? And it's because sometimes when you mark it as read, like if you actually went through and read the whole book, if it was a bad book and you want to give it a review, sometimes you have to give it a rank, I think. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. The number 6 was, are you doing a reading challenge this year? No. Number 7 is, do you have a wish list? No. I do, but I don't know. I think they mean something that I could share. So number 8 on the number 8 question is, what book do you plan to buy next? Leave the World Behind. Because that sounds really interesting. Read with Cindy just read that, and it just sounds really good. And I've heard other people read it as well. I've already bought Conjure Woman, so that wouldn't be a buy, but I would have to buy Leave the World Behind to read that. So maybe. So number 9, do you have any favorite quotes, and would you like to share a few? I have a bunch of favorite quotes, but the 2 that I like the most, one, I don't know who it's attributed to, but is accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. And then I have to read this one. It's on my arm, but I don't want to pull my arm out. It's from Albert Camus, and it's, in the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. I'm quite a melancholy person. I've had pretty tragic background, really sad things, and then on top of that, mental illness, and then actual, so sad but hopeful quotes are things that I'm, quotes that acknowledge the hardship, quotes that acknowledge the sadness in life, quotes that are not superficially peppy and deny the hurt and sadness in the world. Those are the kinds of quotes that I am attracted to. And those are the 2 that I actually, like I said, I have the Albert Camus one tattooed on my arm, but I had it tattooed really small and didn't realize that the ink would bleed together. So I'm going to have it re-tattooed somewhere, and I don't know where, and I'll just have something cover this one. I don't even know if you can see it. So I'll just have something. I haven't figured out what I'm going to have here. Maybe my children's ages and stuff like that, or just a big picture, obviously, because there's 2 lines there, and then have the quote written somewhere in a more legible script. Next question is number 10. Who are your favorite authors? I can give you a couple. I don't know, how do you define a favorite author when you love reading so much? So the best thing I could do was to go through my memory library, audiobook library, and see who I read the most, who's had the biggest impact on me, but that even takes away from books that had a bigger impact on me as a kid. But I don't know if I would consider them favorite authors. So this is a difficult question. So George R. R. Martin, I read everything that everything in Westeros. I haven't read like Wild Card and things like that. I like the world of Westeros. And Diana Gabaldon. I love Outlander. I love Jamie and Claire. I love the kids. I love it. Ben Aronovich writes an urban, I never get it right. It's an urban fantasy book series. And the main guy is a mixed guy. It's in London. magical characters everywhere, and he has the first. It's the River of London series. The first book is called River of London, and let's see, probationary constable Peter Grant dreams of becoming a detective in London's Metropolitan Police. Too bad his superior plans to assign him to the Case Progression Union, where the biggest threat he'll face is a paper cut. But Peter's prospects change in the aftermath of a puzzling murder when he gains exclusive information from an eyewitness who happens to be a ghost. Peter's ability to speak with the lingering dead brings him to the attention of Detective Chief Inspector Thomas Nightingale, who investigates crimes involving magic and other manifestations of the uncanny. Now, as a wave of brutal and bizarre murders engulfs the city, Peter is plunged into a world where gods and goddesses mingle, and mortals and the long-dead evil is making a comeback on a rising tide of magic. So, first of all, the man who narrates this book, I love his narration, and the way he narrates Detective Chief Inspector Thomas Nightingale made me fall in love with him, the Chief Nightingale. He was very debonair, old English sounding. He's from old money. But there was this one series of scenes, series of interactions with, I think, the goddesses of water, and they were black women. And he described, the author described these women, their relationship to their hair, how they did it. I actually tweeted him on Twitter. I said, you were either married to a black woman or you got some really good intel. And he sent me a winky emoticon, and I thought, okay, he's not going to tell me, but he knows a black woman. He knows how black women are about their hair, and I love that. And another favorite that I have is a series by Jodi Taylor. It's called The Chronicles of St. Mary's, and it is, I guess, in the near future, or maybe a world like ours. The history is the same and everything like that, or maybe it's a little bit in the future. They don't specify when the time that these people are. It's a time traveling series. Very witty, funny, adventurous. This team of scientists go back into the future and try to observe what really happened. I mean, we all think we know what happened in history, but they go back and observe it. Hijinks ensue, obviously. But Jodi is not above killing like everybody. The main character is very, very witty and deals with a lot of her hurt and the tragedy that she deals with biting humor. Love the series. I have one book that I haven't gotten to, and I just remembered it, that I bought it because I pre-ordered them whenever they come out. So I have one sitting waiting for me to read. Love them. There's a whole bunch of them. Love them. Sarah Lyons Fleming is another favorite author of mine. She wrote a series called Until the End of the World. There's another series, I have to look up that name. She didn't have as many as Sarah did, but Julia Whalen is one of my favorite audio narrators, and she narrates both, and they both have to do with the zombie apocalypse, and they both have really, really strong relationships, and they focus on that more so than horror or the gore of the zombies. The friendships are amazing. Each character is distinct. Each voice is distinct. Again, Sarah Lyons Fleming is not afraid to kill your favorites. You love the relationships. You root for them. You're mad at them when they act stupid and don't talk when they're supposed to talk. You're desperate for them to get together when they're separated. There is a bad side. It's like the best parts at the beginning of The Walking Dead when it was and when it was about the relationships and everything. But it's even better. I love this series. I've listened to it multiple times. I love it. Absolutely love it. Peter Clines is another writer that I enjoy. He wrote a book called 14 and The Fold and Paradox Bound. 14 was so good. I think I like groups of friends. I think that's the thing here. I like urban paranormal things. I like thrillers and mysteries. But in anything else, I like groups of friends. And, in a group of friends, there's going to be relationships sometimes. And I don't mind that. But I like groups of friends. And so, again, in 14, this unlikely group of people come together. And it's kind of like an early version of, what was the Riley Sager book? Lock Every Door? Or was that the house? Yes, I think Lock Every Door. It's kind of like that, where all of these guys get to, it's women and men who come together, and it's a nice rental, and they're like, why was I accepted into this rental? Like, my credit's bad, or I don't make a lot of money, whatever. Like, why is the rent so low in this cool building? And slowly they find out, and it's got some really, I don't know if it's a spoiler, so I'll give you like 3 seconds just in case you don't want to know anything about it. So 1, 2, 3. There's some Lovecraftian elements that come out. It's part mystery, it's part group of friends, and it's part horror, and it's Lovecraftian. But you want to hang out with these people, even as they're going through trying to find out what's going on with this building. So, spoiler over. Last but not least, Lev Grossman is another favorite author of mine, in the sense that I don't know if he's really written anything else, but he's written one of my favorite magic books. It is called The Magicians. It has a TV show. This TV show has ended. It marries Harry Potter and Narnia together. It's a portal story, and it's also a magic school story, but they're adults, and they have mental issues, and they have to deal with parents with cancer, and they have drug problems, and they think magic is going to magically save them or magically make things better, much like we think money or a certain person coming into our lives or whatever will make things better, and it doesn't. It comes with its own ups and downs, just like anything else. And the last question is, have you joined any groups? And no, this again goes back to the fact that I believe that I've just been using Goodreads all these years, not to the fullest of its extent. I don't know the difference between friending someone versus following them. I don't do the challenges. I never really paid attention to the awards until I started following booktubers who pay attention to the awards. I don't know what would join a group provide you that friending someone or following someone doesn't provide you. So I don't think I'm using Goodreads to the fullness that it is. Like, I don't really write reviews. I just kind of give a star rating. I wonder if I wrote reviews, would I get more in-depth recommendations? I don't know. I stopped looking for recommendations because they never really matched up very well for me. So I don't know if that's a failure on my part, or if there are better reading apps out there other than Goodreads. And Goodreads was just the first one that I saw a long time ago. So that is the end of the Goodreads tag. If you've done the Goodreads tag, please share the link in the conversation, the comment sections down below. and I will see you in the next video. Bye.